Hi, friend. Host Eric here, who's talking with fans people. I gotta talk shit out because I'm so upset about it. I mean, the thing to remember is this. I did make the claim that being right about cognitive functions begins and ends with me. And it is fine to say, Eric, you were wrong about that claim. That is too bold of a claim. That's fine. But note that it's not an example of me contradicting myself. And then when they say, but you can't predict the future, Eric. Well, that's true. That idiomatic expression, the beginning and end of cognitive functions, if I in fact used it, then that was too bold of an idiomatic claim. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be that forever, of course. So again, even if they were correct that I was wrong to say it, not an example of me contradicting myself, which is what they claimed it was. This is the kind of shit that infuriates me. It is fine to point out an actual contradiction. If you are going to claim to point out a contradiction, point out a contradiction. If you're going to claim I made a claim that I was wrong to make, then say that. Eric, it was wrong of you to make the claim that you were the beginning and end of cognitive function. Fine. Okay, I can see the point. That was hyperbolic. But, don't lie. Don't say this is an example of you contradicting yourself. It's not an example of me contradicting myself. Don't be a liar, It's that simple. Don't be a fucking worthless liar. Don't say I frequently contradict myself when I don't. Be honest. This fucking guy tried to talk all condescending and patronizing to me like, Eric, you seem to get really upset a lot often and go and fly off the handle and shit. Well, yeah, because I'm dealing with disingenuous liars like you. Eric, you're frequently contradicting yourself. First of all, if you start with something like that, you are barking up the wrong tree. In other words, you are not talking about anything that I've actually said. You're making a claim about me, right? I know. Well, I'm going to ask David Sanderson if he comes in here to please remove talking with fan people from the name of that server entirely. I don't want anything to do with it. Oliver Linehan is absolutely right. They are intentionally trying to piss me off to discredit me. They want to see me being angry and say, see, he's flying off the handle because he was losing the argument. No, I'm flying off the handle because they aren't engaging with me honestly. What lies am I spreading? What lies am I spreading? The focus of this is I went on the Discord server briefly and faced the disingenuous argumentation of somebody who accused me of frequently contradicting myself. I asked him for an example. Okay, well, Super Walker, that's fine. Maybe I shouldn't fly out the handle. Maybe that's true. But the point is, I don't want to be provoked by dishonest critiques all the time. I don't like it. And that's an acceptable boundary for me to have. And I would like David Sanderson to remove talking with fans people from the name of his Discord server. I don't want to be associated with it at all. Because I've had this happen to me before. I supported a community of people to hang out, right, in the raw rooms and places like that. And what ended up happening was a group of people who became staunchly anti-Eric tried to take over the sort of community from that angle. It happened. No, I don't want him to. I don't want to address him formally. He's not honest. He's not an honest person. He opens with, Eric, you frequently contradict yourself. I say, give me an example. He gives me an example of me making a claim about my role in cognitive functions in general, not about anything I actually say about cognitive functions, okay? And even in that thing I say is not an example of me contradicting myself. It's an example of me being hyperbolic and wrong, possibly, but not of contradicting myself. So, no, I don't want to deal with that guy. He's not worth my time. He doesn't respect me at all. He has no respect for me. He's determined to tear me down no matter what. obviously he doesn't care at all about what I'm saying, or he wouldn't be talking about an irrelevant thing like my claim about my role in the development of cognitive function ideation. That's not relevant to what I'm saying about it. So no, I'm not going to engage those people. I refuse. They aren't smart enough. They don't deserve my time. They aren't smart enough, and they don't deal with me honestly or fairly. So they do not deserve my time. I'm not going anywhere near any of those fuckers again. I'm not going to bang my head against the Dunning-Kruger wall. Like, it pisses me off too much. You have to know a certain amount of something before I can even begin to argue with you. In the wolf pack, when a young wolf challenges the elder wolf, the third wolf watches. If the two battling wolves hurt each other, it's better for the third wolf. Right. Well, the thing is, I'm not worried about being damaged because I've gone through this too many times before. Is it the same thing that happens all the time around this community, which is there's a segment of people who hate me and grow to hate me more and more. And it's usually because they don't like the size of my FE claims. They think I'm not being FE considerate. They don't like my arrogance. They need to take me down a notch, right? They form a community of haters who talk shit about me and in my space, and then co-opt it to turn against me. It's happened before. It's going to happen again. I'm not going to support any more of these kind of spaces. It's ridiculous. There's no actual honest engagement with me at all. I'm not lumping all of you together. I'm saying I don't like environments that are conducive to that. And I know that this kind of environment is conducive to that from experience. Maybe my experience is being overstated here in terms of its significance. Maybe I shouldn't prioritize my experience so much in this regard, but I've had it happen. I've been burned too bad before on multiple occasions by assuming that people who participate in my community have my interests at heart, or just neutral. I don't even care if you have my interests at heart. You just don't have active, constant spite and ill will towards me. I'm not saying you do, Xavier Reeds, but there are plenty of people who do, and they will gather in those spaces. They will gather. I don't know who it was who I was talking to, actually. I honestly don't even know who it was. Yeah, I'm literally having a feeling session right now. That's right. I'm talking out my feelings. Because I was very upset. I'm already starting to feel less upset, It's like when somebody hits me in my polar, and that's exactly what this guy was doing. He's crossing my boundaries. My boundaries are this. You're welcome to engage me as adversarial as you want intellectually about my ideas, not about me. Engage me about my ideas. You want to point, have I made some excessively bold claims about myself? I'm sure I have out there. Things like that I don't tend to put a lot of weight into taking them literally. They're hyperbolic statements, or maybe they're not hyperbolic. It's like, how important has been my role? Well, I do maintain the claim that I am the one who figured out how to fix it. And it was broken prior to me fixing it. And now it's more or less fixed. And I have maintained this position for quite some time. I continue to maintain it. Now, if I in fact said it's the beginning and end of cognitive functions, then that was overstating things. But that's not contradicting myself. That's just me making an FE mistake. So accuse me of what I actually did, right? Accuse me of the crime that I'm guilty of, not some other crime. Those are my boundaries. You can hold me as accountable as you want, but don't play fast and loose with holding accountable, right? Don't pretend you're holding me accountable when really you're not being accountable yourself. And that's what happens all the time to me, is people pretend like they're holding me accountable when what they're actually doing is not being accountable themselves. I'm reaching. Are you serious? The guy opened with, Eric frequently contradicts himself. Do you think that there's any validity to that claim at all? If you were going to point to one person in the world to whom that claim does not apply, it would be me. And that's an honest objective. Any reasonable party will agree with that. I do not frequently contradict myself. I very rarely contradict myself. When I do, I almost always catch myself. That doesn't mean I'm never wrong. It doesn't mean I don't make sometimes very bold claims or FE, ill-advised claims. But it is the case that it is not true that I frequently contradict myself. Does anybody here want to dispute that? Feel free. If anybody wants to dispute that, feel free. If you don't want to dispute that, Super Walker, then don't tell me I'm reaching. I mean, do you think I frequently contradict myself? Can you give me real examples? Right. He gave me an example of me making a bold claim about my own role in cognitive functions. No, Super Walker, that's not the case. That's a lie. I mean, that's a flat out lie. Super Walker says, Eric, you are upset because someone tried to challenge you. Not true. You are trying to challenge me right now. And you're trying to challenge me in a way that's unfair and incorrect. So it would be understandable if I were to get upset again. In other words, I am not upset because someone tried to challenge me. I've just explained to you why I'm upset. And you're saying to me, I'm either lying or wrong about that. Why are you saying that about me? Yeah, it was an intentional provocation. I was told to come in there. The person who invited me to go in there knew I was going to be provoked by what the people were saying and wanted to see me blow up or something. Well, mission accomplished. There you go. No, Super Walker. Listen, if I claim you're a liar, I better be able to cite the example of the lie, right? He made claims that I frequently contradict myself and couldn't back it up with a single example. That's not okay. If you're going to accuse somebody of something, let him do his work. Why does he want me to do his legwork with him? He's the one who wants to attack me. He wants me to participate in his attack on me. What is the clear logical solution to this? Super Walker, I would never even dream of making the claim that somebody's contradicting themselves without having it in hand. Without having it in hand. That's your basic responsibility when you're going to make an accusatory claim about somebody. If I accuse you, Super Walker, of stealing, I better have some evidence in hand. If I accuse you of lying, I better have some evidence in hand. I don't expect everybody to be infallible in a criticism. That's not a criticism. It's an accusation that I frequently contradict myself. Not a criticism, an accusation. An unsubstantiated accusation. So we need to be able to differentiate between things that are legitimate critiques and things that are not. And when you accuse me personally of frequently contradicting myself, that's an attack on me, not on anything that I've said. A good thing to do would be say, in this video you said this, but in this other video you said this. Simple enough thing to say. If he's so convinced that I frequently contradict myself, he should have multiple examples in mind. Otherwise, he shouldn't be convinced of the position. This is simple stuff. Not rocket science. Well, then they shouldn't make them, especially if they're accusing people of shit. If you're accusing people of shit, you better be able to back up your claim, because it's not just a claim about a position. You're making, I'm being attacked as a person accused of being somebody who's not consistent in what they say. I'm not being accused of being inconsistent in this instant. I'm not being accused of being wrong here or having this problem with my ideation, all of which are legitimate critiques. I'm being accused as being an inconsistent person prone to inconsistencies frequently. Right? Not about anything I say, not about anything of merit. An ontological accusation. So, yeah, if you're going to make those kind of accusations, you better be able to back them up. And yeah, it is perfectly reasonable for a person to be outraged when faced with unsubstantiated accusations like that, and then being told to calm down because they're the one who's the problem because they're upset at your outrageous behavior. No, not going to fly. Outrage earns what outrage deserves. I mean, this person is clearly from spite. There's hatiness, there's jealousy, there's an insistence on taking me down a notch. He's one of the people who's determined to take me down a notch. And he wants me to cooperate with him in this process. Except he's not playing fair at all. So, no, I'm not going to. Of course, I agree there are certain normative standards. Not if you're an intellectual who claims to debate and host a show. I do claim to debate people. I don't claim to play into their little mind games and provocations. If they're not able to engage with me actually on an honest level, then I'm not going to debate them. So, for example, if I'm dealing with somebody who says, you contradict yourself frequently and can't give me a single example, then I know I'm not dealing with somebody who's dealing with me honestly. They don't want to disagree with what I'm saying, right? They're trying to invalidate me as a person, as a thinker. But they don't need to invalidate me as a thinker. I've got plenty of actual thoughts they could invalidate if they could. Right? I totally agree there's normative standards. And I refuse to be party to those who don't uphold them. I won't be party to this shallow little party game. That's all it is. It's a parlor trick. It's let's bait Eric with bullshit. It's irrelevant and ontological and dissembling rather than engaging in meaningful discourse. I will not be party to that. And that's it. I find one fault in project a boogeyman. Superwalker, you seem to forget whose time matters. My time matters. They want my time and attention. I get to decide whether they're worth my time and attention. I'm saying they're not. And I'm giving good reasons as to why they're not. They're not arbitrary reasons. Remember that frame of reference, okay? These people want my time and attention, which is very valuable. And they also want to set the terms by which I afford them my time and attention, even though those terms are fundamentally unfair, unreasonable, and spitefully motivated. So the answer to that, of course, Superwalker, is no. It's my time that they want, and they can't have it. And I don't need to justify that with anything other than I find them stupid and a waste of my time. I have no obligation to talk to everybody who disagrees with me simply because I have a YouTube channel. There are plenty of idiots out there who disagree for such dumb reasons they aren't worth engaging. Well, I mean, the example given was that I said in a video that I'm the beginning and end of cognitive functions. Okay, well, I agree that was a ridiculous thing to say if I said it that way, but it's not an example of me contradicting myself. And then when they said, but you can't predict the future, it's still not an example of me contradicting myself. First of all, I didn't say I'm the beginning and end of it forever, just right now. And second of all, even if I did, it would be an example of me being wrong, not contradicting myself. Well, Superwalker, this is the thing. I am sitting here bitching with my valuable time. But remember, you know what the key word there is, Superwalker? My valuable time. Mine. He's living rent free? No. So are you just spiteful? What does me living rent free have anything to do with that? So you're just trying to be spiteful, right? Well, but let's get back to what you're talking about here. You said, I'm living rent free, right? So why did you say that? It's not a roundabout FI argument. It's a straight up FI argument. Oh, I know. That's why I'm making this. Okay, yeah, I get you. That's why I'm making this video. Now I understand what you mean. I understand what you mean. That's why I'm making this video. This is my way of getting that shit out of my head. So I knew that I had to live stream again as soon as I made that last video because I was still seething, I was seething mad. Again, not because somebody challenges me, not because somebody disagrees with me, but because of the disingenuity, spite, and bullshit that is implicit in everything that just happened there. The way that I got sort of baited into the Discord server just so that they could see if they could provoke me by opening with a very provocative claim that I frequently contradict myself, which is obviously factually false. By any reasonable measure, it is factually false that I frequently contradict myself. And when I asked for a single example, he couldn't provide one. Now, of course, at that point, we have to say, you have no reason then to make the claim or to hold the belief. And if you're going to make an accusatory claim like that, you should definitely have some substantiation because you're coming in fighting. This guy thinks his calm tone and his easy manner makes him seem more correct. And possibly it does to people who prioritize that decision-making metric. But, that's why I don't want to have anything to do with it. Nothing to do with it at all. I am susceptible to being misrepresented and missold and torn down. I'm not perfect. I make some FE mistakes and, I'm susceptible to spiteful people trying to tear me down. The thing is this, if somebody were genuinely intellectually interested in what I was saying, they would come to me and say, okay, what you got going on here seems kind of interesting, but I have some doubts. So this is what typically runs afoul of MBTI stuff. Can you tell me how you've addressed that? Have you addressed that concern? Oh, you have. Okay, cool. So how does this thing work? Okay, cool. Sounds like you got it down pretty good. What about this? So here's some problem areas. Yeah, you're right. That's fine. Yeah, no, you're right. I don't really have that book. Yeah, actually, yeah, you're right. That's not really. You could do that to me all day long, and I would have no problem with it. I'd love to work with somebody who's honest. I mean, it was just one guy talking. He was playing calm FE, trying to make Eric be sensible and reasonable in tone, while playing along with his total lack of sensibility and reasonableness in meaning. And that's where the fury incurs, I'm not the only honest person, Super Walker. I'm getting the feeling that you're pretty dishonest. I've never claimed to be the only honest person. I am claimed to be outraged by this sort of dishonesty. Maybe it's part of my personality type to get outraged by this particular kind of dishonesty. But I do accuse the person of being fundamentally dishonest. They wanted to critique me for my excessively bold claim about my role in understanding cognitive functions, which I overstated in some video. But instead of approaching me honestly and saying, hey, you really kind of overstated this in this video, Eric, and having me go, yeah, you're right. He begins with, No, I mean, I did interpret your sarcasm, I thought. I didn't think you were genuinely sympathetic, if that's what you mean. That's why I said, yeah, well, it's just, look, I'd like to have adult conversations where people enter the conversation by respecting the process. Okay? When you don't respect the process, you're not respecting me, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe that's incorrect, but that's how I feel. Like, if you won't allow us to honestly communicate, so honest communication is, if your problem is that I made too bold of a claim about my own role in cognitive functions, then come out and say that. That's your problem. No, I mean, respecting the process, like I said, that showing me the same respect that I show you. Where was my respect today? You know? I mean, he certainly didn't approach it in a respectful fashion out the gate. Well, I mean, you get as much respect as you give, right? Yeah, I don't hide anything. Some people think that makes me more vulnerable. But, I mean, the respect I owe you, email answer is the respect I'm giving you right now. I never timed you out, did I? I'm addressing what you're saying. But remember that, okay, well, then how did you approach introducing the thing you were excited to share with me? Eric, I've figured out a better way to type than you. Okay, well, this is the sort of bold claim that makes me very wary, because it's not specific enough to be useful, and it's broad enough to only be interpreted as oppositional or adversarial. So maybe I overreacted to that. But, a lot of people start with claims that are, it's like when you make things about people, you end up with problems. If somebody comes to me and says, I think your approach X should be better replaced with approach Y for the following reasons, I'm always open to hearing that kind of shit. The problem is, you come in and you say, I figured out how to type people better than you are. I mean, that's a big, bold, broad claim that then I know is going to get me into a morass of arguments that are difficult to resolve, because there's disagreement about what comprises correctness, But the nice thing is, I think you did. I think you did email that text. I mean, even if you didn't say than you, it's implied. Better way to type than what? I love yummy arguments. I hate poison. Poison arguments are poison, Poison arguments are the ones that try to dissemble that try to not do discursive work, but rather undermine discursive work. So better than what then? Okay, well, emailed Anthrax, listen, I'm willing to entertain this argument you're making, but to successfully complete your argument, you're going to need to tell me better than what then? And what comprises the usual method? I mean, would it have made more sense to infer that you were saying, I've come up with a better way to type people than the usual method, but not as good as yours, Eric? Would that have been the intuitive conclusion to draw? I don't think so. Okay. Well, I will concede, emailed Anthrax, that I am possibly a little defensive and skittish and gun shy about no Superwalker. Again, that's not at all the case. If somebody wants to talk to me about a common typological theory and say, what do you think about this? How does this fit in or not with what you think? If they're trying to gather information, fantastic. If they've gathered information and then want to make arguments about that information they've gathered, fantastic. If they want to say, you must believe this shit that has nothing to do with me, and that's why you're wrong, Eric, then not fantastic, not okay. Don't ascribe to me positions I don't hold. I actually have said words. You don't need to assume what my positions must be. I mean, email Anthrax, that's your frame of reference. I'm very fragile when it comes to my ego, and I'm using that live stream as the burden of proof. Okay, well, maybe I am by your definition of ego. I guess you would say that because I'm FE third, it matters a lot to me what other people think. At the same time, let's do a little honesty here. You probably don't actually believe that my ego is very fragile. I'm kind of childlike. When my FI gets stepped on, I react. You assume it's ego defense. I mean, that there's no legitimacy in my being upset. That's the presumption there, right? That's what's implied by fragile ego, is that there's no legitimacy in my being upset. So, except I've given reasons why it's legitimate to be upset, and your responses have been that my ego is fragile. I would point out that any real assessment of the fragility of my ego would largely conclude it's not very fragile. Just because I get mad at things sometimes doesn't mean I have a fragile ego. But okay, let's say it were fragile. My bad FE responses because of my fragile ego did not change the reality that there are simple claims being made about my consistency, whether I am frequently inconsistent. And my position maintains that is a false claim, and that if somebody's going to make that kind of claim about somebody, it's really a claim about their honesty, in my opinion, and they should substantiate it with good, clear, concrete, obvious examples. Now, I've had a lot of trouble with Rafael Avella's, And today we had some resolution, I felt. And it took me a while to realize, oh, this was a kind of a cathartic day with Raphael. Because Raphael came in and he made a big mistake. Normally, he keeps sliding from thing to thing to sort of ever avoid getting pinned down or anything. But today he came in attacking me for always using the same frame of reference. And then attacking me for saying that people always use the same frame of reference. And he double bound himself so clearly and obviously that there was just no disputing that there was no reason to take him seriously anymore. He was just there to attack, right? If you're willing to attack because I always use the same frame of reference and attack me on the fact that I claim that people always use the same frame of reference, then you've lost all legitimacy. See, the thing is, I need to feel as though I've set the record straight, that my arguments have been successfully made in an environment where they're not going to be unfairly twisted. It is important that I be less reactive, but the disingenuity is really obvious if somebody opens with, Eric, you frequently contradict yourself, which were his words. Now, the thing is, that's enough for me to know he's not an honest person. Because you might find instances where I do contradict myself. To say that I frequently contradict myself is to detach the word frequently from any mean or average against which you might compare it. Because I am an outlier in not contradicting myself by any objective measure. So, it's like, yeah, I get mad about being falsely accused about shit. I get mad when people project their own wrongnesses onto me and shit like that. I agree. Blowing my head off with steam coming out of your ears will never create a good resolution. Well, and that's why I ended that process quickly, because I could tell this wasn't going to end well. I have to be in a particular mood, particularly patient mood, where I feel like playing. Look, there's a game I could play with anybody at any given time. If things are structured. So in other words, if it's not an unstructured conversation. I could debate them by taking the following approach. Okay, what's your position? Okay, so you say this, and this is comprises a contradiction, correct? Okay, noted. I'll follow up my next speech. You say, man. Well, it's borderline. I'm not sure if you deserve an apology or not. I'm leaning that way. I don't hand them out often. I like to think that I have to calculate that I've actually done something wrong before I apologize usually. But this one's close. Yeah, I'm sorry. I came down too aggressively on you with inadequate cause. I apologize. I'm still somewhat a victim of my moods and somewhat subject to provocation. And how subject to provocation I am is very much dependent on my mood. I needed to feel like I got the record straight on a live stream before I could put to bed my own discomfort. I know those people are still bad mouthing me. They were bad mouthing me before I got there. That's why I was invited there, right? But I feel like I've got my arguments laid out here. The record's straight. All people have to do is access the straight record and they'll hear what I have to say. Yeah, I got mad. Yeah, it was ill-advised for me to get mad. And also, it would have been ill-advised for me to stay in that conversation because those people were not interested in having a real conversation with me. They weren't interested in engaging honestly or fairly. Whoever that guy was, he was interested in attacking me, invalidating me as a typologist, not helping figure out what's wrong with the existing system. I've never said my understanding is perfect. I'm looking for corrections. A serious person would see this as an opportunity to find a legitimate thing to critique that could be fixed. Yeah, I am. Not right now. I mean, I'm waiting for after the inauguration, February, figure late February. Right now, I'm sort of compartmentalizing, trying to not think about it. But I have announced some time back that I would begin the campaign in February after the inauguration, and that's what I will do. Right now, I'm coming to terms with stuff like this. Oliver Linehan is a man who has good advice for me. Oliver Linehan would be wise to. It'd be wise for me to have Oliver Linehan at the end there going, just let me talk. Let me deal with this. He's Oliver Linehan's got. He's really got strongly displayed FENI, NIFE or whatever. Bottling it up and pretending it's okay. Well, bottling it up and pretending it's okay is not something I can possibly do. It's not possible for me because I don't treat my feelings as a subject would. Namely, I don't do things with them or about them. The only thing I do is I talk it out like I'm doing right now. I talk out how I'm upset, I'm mad, and why I'm mad. And it's not because people challenge me. It's because people challenge me so poorly and so dishonestly. That's the truth. It's like, I don't even need much epi at all. A little nod to, hey, I like what you're saying here, but I wonder about this. Could you answer this question? Is so reasonable and will always get a response from me. Even you say this, but you also say this. Aren't you contradicting yourself? We'll still always get a response from me. But these shit where people are just attacking me in general, attacking the idea of modeling cognition in general, it's just, oh. You just can't engage it anymore. It's just not worth my attention or time. And it's not because they've got good points that I'm challenged by. They don't have any points, and I can tell they don't. They want me to waste time wandering them around as they're searching for points, trying to befuddle me with some nonsense. Just come right out and say it. If you got an argument, make it. Yeah, I'm getting there emotionally. I'm really having a lot of cognition about my feelings right now. I'm more aware of them than I've ever been before. I'm more aware of how much my mood impacts how I behave. And I'm more aware of the concept of setting reasonable boundaries. You know, what comprises a reasonable thing to set a personal boundary on, and what comprises an unreasonable thing. So, you know, at the end of the day, sometimes the FI people are right. You really just want a sympathetic ear because you've encountered aspects of the world that run afoul of your basic nature. Well, I mean, I would say Oliver Lionhen, lead with the point. You said this, but you also said this. If this is the case, you are contradicting yourself. That's not even an attack. That's a correction. I coach debate and I do typology services. What do you do for a living, Monica Sampanchi? Well, that's the thing. One of the challenges around here in general is I'm trying to balance my own FI interests, which are both, you know, I find this precious, and also I want it to be what I want it to be, which are sometimes two different things because it's a community, you know. So finding the community precious means prioritizing community interests. Doing what I want to do sometimes runs afoul of community interests. So, you know, I forgot also. Did I take that? I guess I took it, huh? I guess part of the reason why my mood's improving at the moment is I took a Klonopin. I was just like, fuck this. I'm taking one of these Klonopins. She's getting a refill tomorrow. I'm taking it. Just because, you know, I just wanted to feel comfortable instead of chock full of irritation, frustration, and disillusionment in the world. Because the thing is, it makes me feel disillusioned in the world to encounter people who are not able or willing to garner any benefits from what I'm saying and doing. And they really cannot garner any benefits of what I'm saying and doing if they're coming in determining to take me down a notch. They're going to fail to do so. Without backhanded techniques like Discord, they may take me down a little bit on that. I'm going to come across as angry and therefore somehow less rational, even though that's just a misuse of a interface algorithm. Well, I'm not sure what blindness you're referring to. The waves of relevance are causing my blindness. So do you mean I'm not being attentive enough to the waves of relevance here? That would certainly be a plausible thing to say. That would be consistent with my type. But okay, well, I still want to know what you think he means when he says that. Or Jeff Shaw, since you said well said, maybe you can explain what that means exactly. Are you saying that I'm missing the forest for the trees? That's quite likely to be the case. It's something I do periodically. But God damn it, I'm going to chop the living fuck out of those trees. The thing is, nobody likes angry Eric, and I get that. Who wants to hang out with Captain Angry Pants? Nobody. So the thing about Klonopin, it doesn't really make me immediately sleepy. It's an odd drug. It doesn't make you super sleepy like, I have to go to sleep right now. It makes it so that when you do lie down to go to sleep, you just sleep really well. Of course, I don't normally take a full one. I took a full one tonight. I normally take a half one. So I can expect more dramatic effects than I can feel them already. Makes me want to sing my Klonopin song. Well, Klonopin, we're on again, taking away all the sin of anxiety, feeling less than free. Life brings frustrations. Sometimes you can have gestations, wrongness born from them in your heart. But I know that this time I I'll be okay, just fine. Just on a pen is running through my blood. On a pen, so soft and gentle, then holds on a pen. Take me away to a place of comfort, a place of ease. On a pen, won't you please run away with me? I mean, you know, it's like I enjoy the way it makes anxiety and stress go away while you're still awake, while I'm currently helping you to sleep. Oh, claw on a pen. The maximum dosage usually does not exceed 4 milligrams per day. I just took 1 milligram, and yeah, I'm careful not to get hooked on them. Rachel's unavoidably is probably already hooked on them. I make a point to go a few days between taking them. I'm taking it in a couple of days, so. The waves of relevance contribute to your blindness. Is something I would attribute to my life. Waves of relevance and blindness might seem contraindicated naturally, but when you see what you see and wonder what's real, and think to yourself if anything seals the deal for me, I won't know it then, can't know it when I'm hollow inside, and always right. Makes for a fight or two, indeed. I couldn't be right if I didn't sacrifice. Ever since that I had value, apparently. That's the sort of thinking that gets you down the train path eventually. Discard the disinterested calculi. Look where you belong. Everything that's true and authentic within your soul. You don't even notice the hole when you're bipolar. If your leg twitches, you need to wrap it very tightly in ace bandages and strap it down with straps to the bed. That way, it won't twitch anymore. You can try to twitch. The page you were looking for appears to have been moved or removed. What page? Oh, the mental health page. You know what's a really INFJ song, if you listen to the lyrics to it, is I Don't Give a Fuck About My Nightmares by, I don't know what his name is. I'll read the lyrics and you'll see. These are totally INFJ lyrics. I don't know if the guy is an INFJ or not, but I would say these lyrics represent an INFJ's thought process. Who gives a fuck about my nightmares? Because I can barely focus when I'm like this. And lately, 40 winks would be just priceless. I wrestle with myself and with my vices, but no one gives a fuck about my nightmares. But it's nothing you should worry yourself about. There's nothing you should worry yourself about. It's all a bit of fun until somebody gets hurt. I'll take it with a pinch of salt, another lesson learned. But I don't need to know what's real or not no more. I don't need to know what's real or not no more. Who gives a fuck about my nightmares? No use in moaning when they're right there. Face down on my pillow, because tonight there's no surprises. You go ahead and get some sleep. I'll take the night shift. No one gives a fuck about my nightmares. But it's nothing you should worry yourself about. It's nothing you should worry yourself about. It's all a bit of fun until somebody gets hurt. I'll take it with a pinch of salt. Another bridge is burned. But I don't need to know what's real or not no more. I don't need to know what's real or not no more. Yeah, and now my best friend's being like, hi, hello, hi, what's your movements tonight? Are you feeling all right? Should we try to get a little bit? Hello, hello. I've never been so tired, and lately I don't feel quite right. But it's nothing you should worry yourself about. It's nothing you should worry yourself about. Everybody on the late night shift, everybody on the drinking crisis, ain't nobody want to feel like this. Everybody on the late night shift, everybody on the brink of crisis. No one gives a fuck about my nightmares, but it's nothing you should worry yourself about. I think those are very INFJ lyrics. But it's nothing you should worry yourself about. Nothing you should worry yourself about. No grammar, no grammar, no grammar allowed. No grammar anywhere allowed around here. This is not a grammar crowd. Not a grammar crowd. Ghost Main Mercury. No, I've not seen it. I will give it a shot. I'm going to mute this so I don't get copyrighted. And listen to it for a second and tell you what I think. Be prepared. I'm going to tell you what I actually think about it. It's good. I respect it. It's not quite good enough to make one of my playlists. If you can link me to a song that I actually add to one of my playlists, you've accomplished something dramatic. Hi Ken, how is it being a Ken? How are you enjoying that? Are you glad you're a Ken, or do you secretly wish you were Paul? Did you and Rachel get married? No, we're not married, but we're. It's like we're married. I mean, we're not formally married, but I wear a wedding ring. Yeah, I can't listen to the music while while playing it because I'll get copyrighted. They're quite fussy about that. The thing is, there's a class of songs that you can use, but when you use them, then the artists get the money from the video. So if I play a certain amount of that song in this video, then any money that comes in from this video goes to that person. And this can even be true sometimes, although not usually, when I do covers. So certain covers will identify them as covers and say, because you played this cover song, the money's going to the songwriter, which I don't have a problem with, really. That's fine. Not that there's any money coming from videos anyway, but if there were, the only thing that would bother me is if, for example, there was a big super chat, and then I wouldn't want that to happen. But it gives you the option to excise that part too. So you can excise the part, or you can just leave it in there and just. Normally, I just leave it in there and let them have the money because there's not any money anyway. A few cents here or there. I play my own music. As far as I know, nobody's trying to claim copyrights of my music, but I do know that like Amazon's selling my book, and it had nothing to do with me. I don't get any money from that. I don't know if they sell any of them, but I was surprised to discover that the book that I offer for free as a PDF is for sale as a PDF on Amazon for like $6 or something. I guess because because if it's free, then it's fair game to resell, I guess. I don't know. I found it weird that Amazon is selling my book. Who's selling it? Like, I guess it's Amazon, and they're selling the PDF of my book. It's called Gospel of the Pantheon. It's a partially successful, I would say, novel. It was written by a younger me, but there are a lot of good moments in it. The plot moves along fairly quickly once you get past the first couple chapters. Maybe people tend to get bogged down in chapter 2 or 3. But KD says, the first video anyone should see on this channel is your intro to typology. Just popped up in my recommendations the other day. Structure this channel already. Yeah. Structuring the channel is something I do want to do. If it was successful, I'd care. That's a good quote. I am not in the business of proving myself to anyone anymore. They can even leave off the anymore, although that's very honest. I'm not in the business of proving myself to people. It's a good response to people who come in and want to challenge what I'm saying. I've made my affirmation. You negate, but negate properly. Negate what I'm saying. To negate my case. Don't negate something else. Yeah, you can get it free there. It's an interesting book. When I reread it, I'm pleased, but I also see its flaws. That's just being an artist. When you make art, you're an artist. You don't have to be good at it. You don't have to be a successful artist to be an artist. If you make art, you're an artist. Because, making art is not something you do because you want it, ultimately. It's something you do because you have to. It's implicit to who you are. And some people fail to meet that implicit need and have it. Other people don't have that need. If the need's strong enough, you'll end up doing it. You'll end up making some kind of art or media, and then you'll find yourself living the life of an artist, which is to say, the ongoing struggle with making media worth watching versus making media that you enjoy making, which is different processes maybe. You'd like them to be the same, but if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd have trouble expressing conditionals. Ba-da-da-da. Right? Makes a lot of sense though, doesn't it? If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd have a lot of trouble expressing conditionals. Every life lived reaches a time when the road splits in two. When I'm there, dark times of despair, times when it's hard to feel good. That's when I look for my sack full of solvency and that satchel of helpful goods. Satchel of helpful goods. Satchel of helpful goods. Satchel of helpful goods. Every life lived reaches an end when the road disappears. When I'm there, Will I travel all alone? That's when I look for a sack full of sound and see ain't that satchel filled up with harm. And that satchel of nothing but bone. Satchel of helpful goods. 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 That satchel was chock full of helpful goods. A grass eater sent me an email. Apparently his YouTube channel got deleted. He appealed it, and to no avail, and now he's leaf trimmer. So, he's trimming leaves, and in the process, of course, disturbing bees. If you trim leaves, then you gotta disturb some bees. That's the rule number one around here. If you trim leaves, then you gotta disturb some bees. That's rule number one around here. Right, grass eater? I believe I have the tree, leaf consumer. What's your name? So I'm very into it. Leaf meower. Leaf meower. The meowiest forms of leaf you'll ever find. Zoom out. Let's see. Zoom out. Okay. One more zoom out. There we go. Now we're ready to play this song. Just brooding here won't do any good, but brooding's more and more my style. I seek the cheery ways of standing where we stood, 'cause I've been stuck here a while. And that's despite a natural selfishness that makes it easy to have fun. But flutters in the gut become a fist as all my visions come undone. I tried to stream, distract, and bring the afternoon away, but every new reality's bear down on every day, and for a bit I am out of it. For reasons still unsaid, but still I need expectorate. The words that tie my head. It seems like everybody's so sensitive, so ready to get all mad. I seek the simple ways of living like a kid, 'cause who wants to be the dad? Have we lost our sense of scope and sail, our capacity now to laugh, the sense to know when not to wail, and how to tip a golden calf? I tried to stream, distract, and dream the afternoon away, but heavy new realities bear down on every day, and for a bit I am out of it. For reasons still unsaid, but still I need expectorate. The words inside my head. And so I I'm sad, sad for me, sad for her. Happily, what you call sorrow, I call home. The blues that sink clear down to the bone. Till I'm sad, so sad for her, sad for me. Happily, what you call sorrow, I call home. The blues that strike clear down to the bone. That was a sad song. Playing sad songs and lullabies tonight. Yep, sad songs and lullabies. So, in the spirit of sad songs and lullabies, this song's in 3, so feel free to waltz along at home if you'd like. I'm writing a song all about you. True songs, readers, my dear. But you no need to fear it, 'cause no one will hear it. Sad songs and waltzes aren't selling this year. I'll tell all about how you cheated. I'd like for the whole world to hear. I'd like to get even with you 'cause you're leaving. But sad songs and waltzes aren't selling this year. It's a good thing that I'm not a star. You don't know how lucky you are. For though my record may say it, no one will play it. 'Cause sad songs and waltzes aren't selling this year. It's a good thing that I'm not a star. You don't know how lucky you are. For though my record may say it, no one will play it. Sad songs and waltzes aren't selling this year. Well, that's a fairly sad song, isn't it? What other sad songs do I have to play? What a sad song rampage here. This is kind of a sad song. If it were to be played a little bit on the slower side. $30,000. 30,000 days. 30,000 expectations. Not even worth a damn. 30,000 nights to sleep off the intoxication. Otherwise, can't escape the plan. I wasted half my days trying another's way. Who can tell me my priorities? Is there anybody? knows the key. 'Cause I'm tired of doing it wrong. I want direction and have all along. Wait until I know. Or is that just hesitation? Clarity's no good once your chance is gone. What I need to show is it so below my station. I'm tired of doing it wrong. I wasted half my days trying another's ways. Who can tell me my priorities? Is there anybody knows the key? 'Cause I think I'm doing it wrong. I think I'm doing it wrong. I think I'm doing it wrong. Doing it wrong. Oh, the mood is somber, solo and sad, filled with feelings ranging from bad to mad to glad to everything in between. GLAD, the Gay and Lesbian Anti-Defamation League. When I was younger, it seemed that everything gleamed. I don't know what happened to me, but I've lost that sense of urgency, and I don't think that I'll ever see it again. If you follow my lead, you'll discover I'm loster than you. And you'll want to know the way to get back out to wherever it was you thought you knew. Tomorrow will be just like today. I'll be lost then too. It's a matter of mood as much as a matter of will. And the things I do and the direction I point to still seem a part of me, wholeheartedly. And I wonder if I'll ever see them again. If you follow my lead, you'll discover I'm loster than you. And you'll want to know the way back to where you flew, wherever it was you thought you knew. But tomorrow will be just like today. I'll be lost then too. It's a matter of mood as much as a matter of will. And the things I do and the direction I point to still seem a part of me, though departedly. And I wonder if I'll ever see them again. Pretty sad song, huh? You come outside, your arms are folded. I'm getting scolded for playing again. I wanna be as much as I can in terms of the man you want me to be. I gotta do what I gotta do. I'll include you in everything that I can. 'Cause I'm your man and you're my girl. I mean my woman in the world. You are the one I will be with till my dying day. I want you to believe you want my attention. You've got invention playing again. I wanna be as much as I can in terms of the man you want me to be. Kimberly, please don't be mad at me. Though I made this song, 'cause I'm your man and you're my girl. I mean my woman in the world. You are the one I will be with till my dying day. I'm your man, you're my girl. I'm your woman in the world. You are the one I will be with till my dying day. Hi, Rachel. My beloved Rachel.
I'm peeking in and out on the screen.
Oh, cool. Welcome.
Oh, hi, ENTP.
Once I knew the heartache of incompatibility. Once I knew the difficulty of working on relationships. Once I knew the meaning of what it would be to suffer. Took a little longer to understand what that meant. Yeah, once I had got conflict in my dealings every day with the woman with whom I tried to make my way through life. But she and I were fundamentally on different pages about everything. Love doesn't involve a whole hell of a lot of work. Seems like most of us at first at least end up with some kind of jerk. Hell, let's be honest, that jerk's often us. We don't know enough to twerk in the bus. But when we find the one that makes it all go undone, conflict and the tail of the hunt, living with you, bringing you trouble, everything you do, critiquing you for your behavior, even though it's just how you roll. Well, I don't know to deal with that no more. No more of that nonsense in store. Rachel and I will make our way compatibly through every day. Increasingly aware that we need to play our part ever. because not such that we're so clever, but because compatibility's the true endeavor to attain. And when it rains, it pours nothing but goodness.
Thank you, Barry.
Sure. A little love song for Rachel. I figured since you came in mid my. Here's an example where I was proved very wrong. You know, my previous song I played when you were coming in, it's about how Kimberly and I are going to stay together forever. So I thought, well, you know, really, I don't want to leave that as the last argument on the flow, since that represents an old and deprecated argument chain.
It is a difference. Oh, look at how nice you look.
I'm so happy that there's still 17 people here.
Me too.
Because, you know, usually when I play songs, I lose more of a percentage of that.
I'm surprised. Surprisingly. I would think that would be a very pleasant part of the stream. In my mind. Oh, keep you down. I'm gonna go back. Try to sleep again.
Okay, my precious one.
I love you. Oh my God.
Our great detective bro. Anybody else playing Cyberpunk? I don't know if that's true. I'm not sure. The Cyberpunk is something. Mew. Eric made a profile and went through the anointing process of it to tell you the FP shaming. Your angry reaction is fair. Nothing wrong with it. Oh. I think you meant to have a comma after that, Eric, right? Eric, are you reluctant to hold a grand TW if you meet it because it might be like a real life discourse? No, I actually am not reluctant to that. Because I don't think that people, when talking to me face to face, are going to approach things in that fashion. I don't think I will approach things in that fashion either. I see them in an environment like this is wasting my time because I can engage with a lot of people who are I mean, I just don't think people will do that to me face to face. It's more difficult to deal with another human being as a human being face to face, you know, to not deal with another human being. And it takes a lot more balls, right? They're doing something fundamentally disingenuous. So I'm not worried about it happening in person. I'll have those arguments in person. You know, it's like, if need be, because then, you know, there's a lot less controlling the environment. The person who's trying to pull that shit on me has to have the environment set up properly first, right? I mean, I interpret you as having an agenda as well, Superwalker. I accept your arguments that I should have engaged differently with the person. I don't agree with them, but I accept your basic desire to call me out on something because you're calling me out on something specific, right? So even though I don't agree with you, you are not doing something that makes me angry. What makes me angry is not calling me out on something specific. You call me out on something general that is then not substantiated. You know, I do it too to people, but when I do it, it's fair. When I say, like I said to this last guy, you are not thinking well about this. Well, that was accurate. I mean, I don't know, Super Walker. I'm not quite. I don't have a big database of memories of you to reference. So I don't know. But I would say that you may or may not have an agenda. I don't know. But I would say that you come in here critiquing something specific, saying, hey, I should have dealt with that differently. Okay, that's fair. There's nothing wrong with critiquing me about it. You should have dealt with that differently. Because that's an actual critique. Right? Sure, should have dealt with that differently. That's the problem, right? Say what you mean. What you mean is you find it appalling that whoever this guy was, you find it appalling that I made such a bold claim, so bold and self-aggrandizing claim. It's offensive on FE levels. You need to be taken down a notch, Eric. That's what the guy means. So say that. And that's a fair request to ask people to say what they mean, to not position it as something else. And then accuse me of somehow not doing my job to engage with them ideationally when they're not really trying to engage with me ideationally at all. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I have more respect for my time than that. Leaf Drummer is not brain dead. He's just a little bit paranoid. Right, so suspicious, correct. Maybe unreasonably suspicious, correct. But not whatever it was. Whatever, I guess it was the deleted one. I lost it. Yeah. He's not brain dead. I agree. In the words of Grand Moff Tarkin, this bickering is pointless. Who is Grand Moff Tarkin? The candor. Like, what's a good metaphor for that? You have the candor of a man. And that's the thing. I'd like to believe one quality that I bring to the YouTube table and to the live stream in general is candor and honesty. And a willingness to be challenged in what I'm saying. But I don't like being challenged holistically, because it's not a real approach to any kind of argumentation. Well, your whole frame of reference is wrong, Eric. Okay, well, you're going to need to do a lot more work than that. A brainlet? What's a brainlet? Now I know. Now I know my meme. Well, that's the thing. They're trying to bypass the integrity issue by saying, Eric, you contradict yourself all the time. But I, sort of built my house on the notion that I don't do that. And so if you're going to make that claim, you better come in with some robust evidence of it. Otherwise, you really are attacking my integrity. It's not like you're saying, hey, Eric, you're not aware of it, but you're contradicting yourself a lot. I'm making the objective claim. I'm very aware of contradictions and have conscientiously avoided them. So then to come in and say I'm frequently contradicting myself is to say I'm not using my tool function, which is just crazy. It's sting your FE. See, I feel so much better now. I'm no longer stressed out by that shit that went down. Maybe it's the quantum pen. It could be that, Candor. Yeah. I bring a lot of candor to the equation. I try to be, a human being. Imperfect, subject to critique, but subject to fair critique, not to unfair critique. I think I'm going to perhaps segue into a bedtime story now. I'm feeling like lying down, but not quite like going to sleep. Really kind of an ideal moment for a transition to a bedtime story. So if you're not experienced with my bedtime stories, they can get a little risque, but I'm going to probably try to keep this one clean, I think, with just PG-13 references to human sexuality. Because if there's one thing I love, it's keeping things clean. Like instead of saying the F word, I'll say, make gentle, sweet love. Instead of saying the S word, I'll say, make a bowel movement. Instead of saying the ATM, I'll say, derriere to the top hole. That's the kind of guy I am. Conscientious Sam. Worried about the sensitive ears of all who listen to my cheers. I'll cheer you up with story good as I go to bed like you should. We can all lie down in quietude and listen to this story do. This story is sure to make you sleep with wondrous tales to make you weep and stories of magic and dragons too. Or perhaps stories of things that are true. It's hard to say because I don't know what the story will be about tonight, but I'm sure it'll be quite exciting indeed, or perhaps it will instead bore you to sleep. That was a pretty good introduction song, though. That's a pretty good sign. I see people leaving. Not, bedtime stories aren't for everybody. I understand. If you're not feeling the bedtime story, well, maybe you still want to stay awake, What's that sound, Eric? It's the sound of urine. Urine spilling in this bowl. I guess it's more like a jug. Urine trickling from my penis now into this chamber pot I'm holding up and out. Once it's full, I'll pour all the pee in the sink instead of drinking it. That's the sound of urine. Urine spilling in this thing and dripping down and making rings. Making rings of urine all around. You can ring the rings, won't make a sound, 'cause they're not that kind of rings. They don't bling with the sound of urine. Like, that sound of urine cover right there might very well get me a copyright thing where, Paul Simon receives all the music, all the proceeds from this video. It's very plausible. Okay. Now listen. Because it's a bedtime story, we're going to try to get as intimate as possible with this. Okay. Real juicy intimacy. The kind of intimacy you can only find here on Talking with Famous People. That's right. I'm going to put it here. That's a good place. Now, let's see if you can see me at all. Can you see me at all? No? That's okay. Can you hear me still? That's the important thing. It is, after all, a bedtime story. So, I could put that light on here. That would bother me. So, okay. We are ready for bedtime story. So cozy. There. Okay, now it's time for okay. Today is the day that we learn how to really love each other. Okay, it's a loving day, a day of true learning to love. If you've not yet learned to love, today's your big chance. It can be hard for people. Is this loving, you might say? Is Eric loving us right now? Probably not, but maybe. Okay, bedtime story time. So, tonight I want to tell a story about Judy. Judy's 27, and she works as a receptionist at a medical office, which has been nice during COVID because, of course, she still maintained her job being essential. She finds the whole thing ridiculous, but she's happy to have her work and do her job. But even before COVID, dating was really a struggle area for Julie. She's an attractive lady, 27, fairly fit, fairly large-chested girl, dimples, kind of dumb, but that's all relative to your opinion about what comprises smart, I suppose. Anyway, at the very least, it's fair to say that Julie didn't have a particularly high self-concept regarding her own intelligence, but thought she was a good person and had a lot to offer in life, a lot of love, and wanted to be in a long-term relationship, but had a series of ultimately unsatisfactory dating experiences. And this most recent one was one that really made her frustrated and think through. So I've got to do something about this. So what had happened was she had met this guy on OkCupid, which she thought was more of a slow paced kind of relationship site, and he seemed great. His name was Freddie, and he had stated that he was very much looking for a long term relationship, and they seemed to be compatible. But when they went out to dinner, he insisted that she eat nothing but shrimp. And when she reached for a piece of bread across the table, he smacked her hand and he looked at her and took his finger in her face and said, "Nothing but shrimp." And he wouldn't explain why. And at the end of the meal, he said, "Did you eat anything but shrimp?" And she said, "No." He said, "Fine, then I'll pay for it. Keep that in mind. When we go out, you are only allowed to eat shrimp." Well, the thing is, of course, Julie's not really even a big shrimp fan. So she didn't follow up with the guy. He contacted her on multiple occasions wanting a second date, saying, "But I thought our date went fantastic." So this really demoralized Julie. And she was thinking, God, what is this world coming to? Like, he seemed so nice. And then when I go out to dinner with him, I find out he's got this weird thing about shrimp. And obviously, I can't go out with him because, number one, I don't like shrimp. Number two, he smacked my hand when I reached for a piece of bread. And number three, he stuck his finger in my face in a very aggressive fashion, which are all red flags for me. "Oh, whatever am I going to do?" said Julie one day at work. And, she said, "God, please help me find Mr. Right somehow. I just somehow give me some ability. I don't know." anything. I'm desperate. And at that very moment, there was a power surge in her office, and all the computers went haywire for a second, and then they went back to normal. And all of a sudden, when Julie looked around, she could see over the head of every male in the office a heart symbol that was either partially filled in or medium filled in or all the way filled in. None of them were all the way filled in, but they were varying degrees of filled in. And she realized as she looked at them and marveled at this phenomenon that suddenly occurred, that the amount of filled innedness seemed to correlate pretty strongly with how much she thought she was compatible with the various men in the office. And she was no genius, but it didn't take her too long to put two and two together and realize that she just needed to look for the one guy with the heart that was all the way filled in. Now, the thing is, Julie went home and she was pretty giddy about this, and she wanted to call her girlfriends and tell them about what had happened. But she realized pretty quickly that she must be the only one who could see him, because otherwise other people would have commented on the sudden appearance of these things, and that it was going to be difficult to convince anybody to believe her. So she said, you know what, I'm just going to keep it to myself until I find the perfect guy who's all heart floating above him, and then I'll marry that guy, and then I'll tell my friends the true thing about it. So she goes out in the world and starts just sort of wandering around town and wandering through supermarkets and stuff, and looking at all the various men. And the vast majority of the men that she sees have very low amount of heart filled in. They're either too old, too young, or just not a good match for her, apparently. And, she's been going to various public places and looking at these symbols above these people all day long. And the best she got was about 2/3 full. And then later in the evening, she sees a guy, and she's about to give up. She sees this one dude. He looks very handsome to her, and she's like, "Hey, the heart here is about 3/4 full. I should go talk to him." And then she's walking over, and she stops, and he goes, "Wait a second. I have to go for a full heart now, because if I get a 3/4 heart and I'm with that person, then I'm going to see the next person, and somebody who has more, I'm going to want to be with them. The only way I can really trust myself to get with anybody is if the heart is completely filled in." And she muses over this, and she decides she needs to talk to one of her friends about it, but she's got a strategy. Instead of saying that she has this power, she's just going to present it as a hypothetical. So she calls up Helen, who's her friend from high school, from back in high school, is still friends. So maybe she lives kind of far away now, but they talk on the phone and they talk on video conference and stuff. She says, "Helen, listen, I want to present a hypothetical situation to you and ask you what you would do." And Helen said, "I am always here to listen to you, Julie. Please present your hypothetical." And Julie says, "Well, hypothetically, if a woman were to see a heart symbol over every prospective mate and know the quality of that mate based on how filled in the heart is from 5% to 100%, what's the wisest choice? At what percentage of fill in do you go good enough? Do you have to wait for 100%? Because what if you pick 98% and then later on you see 100%? Do you leave 98%? And Helen said, oh, that's an interesting hypothetical question, Julie. Well, it's a tough one to answer. Good thing nobody has to actually face that reality. And Julie slams her hand down to him. That's not good enough, Helen. I need a real answer. And Helen's like, whoa, Julie. What's the big deal? It's a hypothetical, right? And Julie sighs. Helen, I know you're not going to believe this, but it's not a hypothetical. I have this power now. It's called know how compatible I am with someone just by looking at them. And Helen's skeptical at first. She says, well, how did you get this power? And Julie says, it's the power of prayer. I pray to God, and he put icons over males' heads to make it easy for me. And Helen said, are you sure? That doesn't sound like the sort of thing that God does. And Julie said, well, I just said, oh Lord of the darkness, Beelzebub, please bestow me this power. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? And Helen says, no, Julie. You prayed to the wrong God. You got demonic powers. And she said, demonic powers? Well, they seem to work well. I've done some testing, and it seems like, indeed, it is a good measure of compatibility. Helen said, but don't you see the curse? And Julie said, no, I don't. I'm a little bit dense. What if you never find someone who's 100% heart? Then you'll never be able to be satisfied in a relationship. Because if you pick somebody who's less than 100%, you always know you're at risk of finding your true soulmate later on. And Julie gasped, Helen, you're right. What should I do? She said, well, I think you should pray to Jesus to cleanse you of your demonic power. And Julie said, but, listen, Helen, let's not go overboard here. You've got to remember, this demonic power is a lot more effective in me choosing a dating partner than no demonic power. And Helen said, well, it's really an NITI thing here. It's like, if you want to focus on the holistic truth of what's the best way to determine a good mate, do you have this cheat or not? The answer is always going to be yes. From a TI perspective. But if you look at the whole picture, you realize that change your frame of reference, and on the NI level, it's probably not a good idea to think about things like that. And Julie's like, you're just jealous. Helen's like, no, I'm really not just jealous. And if I were jealous, since now I know that works, I would just do what you just did and have the same power. And Julie said, well, that's a pretty good point. And then she went home and slept on it. And in the morning, she said, well, I decided to keep the power. And she said, why? Well, because of Joe here. And Joe comes out in his boxers. What up? What's your name again? Julie. What up, Julie? And Helen says, this guy's your 100% match? And she said, no, he was only a 25% match. But, I wanted to get laid, so it's convenient in that fashion. And then 25% match was all physical. Because you know how I like anal? Helen said, I didn't know that, actually. You hadn't shared that with me. Yeah, I'm a particular fan of ass to mouth. Helen's like, Julie, that's so unsanitary. Well, I know it's a weird thing, but I really like the taste. And Helen said, Julie. And the guy said, well, hey, it's we're compatible there. I like both fucking her in the ass and then going straight to the mouth. I thought that was fun. I enjoyed making her taste that. Frankly, Because Helen, both of you two are awful. What? We're two consenting adults doing what we like. Yeah, well, what you like is extraordinarily gross. That doesn't make us bad people. I mean, I concede your point, but I mean, really, it's so gross. And that's where the story ended. Helen got the last word. The end. Well, I hope you enjoyed my bedtime story. And good night, everybody.